Let's jump right into this explainer with something you probably use every single day, totally take for granted, and honestly, probably think is a little bit boring. Yep, we're talking about the toilet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Really? A whole explainer on toilets? But trust me on this everyday piece of ceramic hardware is actually a massive cultural artifact. It holds an incredible amount of hidden meaning about how different societies operate, how they think, and literally how they value human time.
So, here's a question for you right out of the gate. What does your toilet actually say about your culture? Because if you travel around the world, you're going to notice some pretty wild differences in how we, well, dispose of waste. It becomes super obvious very quickly that Europe and America are absolutely not the same, and neither is their plumbing. Today, we're unpacking the fascinating engineering, the shockingly deep philosophy, and the hidden workplace culture built right into your bathroom stall.
Okay, let's start with the actual mechanics of it all. Section 1. Washdown versus siphonic systems. The physics of the flush.
When we look at the basic hardware, it's wild because we're looking at two entirely different engineering solutions to the exact same human problem. Take the European washdown model. It simply takes clean water from the tank and pours it straight into the bowl. It uses gravity and brute force to just literally push the waste out. And because there's no vacuum involved, it doesn't need a high water level, which is why Europeans can easily use those dual flush systems, one button for light work, one for the heavy lifting. Now, the American and British standard is the siphonic system. This one uses an S-shaped trapway to create a literal vacuum that sucks the waste away. But to keep that vacuum sealed, it requires a much higher constant pool of water in the bowl.
So what's the catch? Well, it all comes down to a really fascinating trade-off. European toilets, absolutely fantastic for saving water. But because they lack that deep pool of standing water, they can, frankly, smell a bit worse, and you're going to find yourself doing a lot more manual cleaning. American toilets, on the flip side, use way more water, but that extra water is doing a job. It insulates the unpleasant smells and cleans the bowl a lot better with every single flush. But here is the major downside. That S-shaped trapway in the American model, it is way harder for waste to maneuver through than the wider European trapways, which means American toilets have a significantly higher tendency to clog up on you.
And to fight that massive clog risk, especially in places like public institutions that get heavy traffic, Americans literally started over-engineering their toilets. They began installing high-pressure compression tanks right inside the ceramic frame. Honestly, it's kind of overkill, especially when you realize a clog-free alternative already exists with the European washdown model. But it gives them that guaranteed clog-free flush without having to abandon their beloved siphonic vacuum design.
All right, let's take this to an even deeper level. Section 2. A philosophical toilet trinity. Hegel, Zizek, and the bowl.
This whole mechanical divide gets even more intriguing when you look at older German and Dutch homes. They have this variation called the washout toilet, which features an actual flat inspection shelf inside the ceramic. And according to the philosopher Slavoj Žižek, this is not just some random design quirk. We can actually look at the philosopher Hegel's idea of a European trinity, which is German reflective thoroughness, French revolutionary hastiness, and English moderate pragmatism, and use that to analyze this plumbing.
I find this absolutely fascinating. The physical shape of the ceramic bowl actually mirrors the philosophical stereotypes of each of these cultures. Think about it. In Germany, that inspection shelf puts the hole in the front. You literally observe what you've done. It perfectly aligns with a culture of metaphysics, poetry, and that reflective thoroughness. Now go to France. The hole is in the back for a quick liquidation. Žižek literally compares it to a guillotine, revolutionary hastiness, right? Just get it out of sight immediately. And then you have the Anglo-Saxon world, particularly the US and the UK. It's all about moderate pragmatism. Let it flow, let's just be rational about this. The bowl is just full of water to mask the whole process entirely.
But the geographical intrigue goes even deeper, especially when you look at the United Kingdom and their 2016 vote to leave the EU. So, Section 3, Stalls and the Brexit Connection, Geopolitics in the Restroom. Let's shift our focus from the bowl to the room around it. The UK has always sat in this really tricky geopolitical middle ground, torn between America and Europe. And you can literally see it in their bathrooms. They actually share a toilet design with the US. They use those American-style siphonic bowls that pull the waste. But they hide those American bowls inside European-style enclosed stalls, the kind that go all the way from the floor to the ceiling. Which brilliantly illustrates a point from our sources analysis. Brexit was a surprise to absolutely no one who understood bathrooms. It's crazy, right? But their political decision to pull away from Europe and align more with the Anglosphere makes total logical sense if you just look at their plumbing.
They've always been physically housed in European stalls, but their mechanical allegiance, that has always been with the American siphon.
Okay, that brings us to the partitions themselves, which present a massive cultural paradox between the US and Europe. Section 4, Productivity over Bathroom Privacy, the Stall Mystery.
Let's look at the stark cultural paradox. The stereotype is that Americans are way more prudish and generally less comfortable with nudity than the average European, right? So logically, you'd think their bathroom stalls would be fortresses of complete privacy. But the physical reality is the exact opposite. The standard American bathroom stall has a massive 30-centimeter gap at the bottom. You can literally make eye contact with someone's shoes while they're in there, not to mention the huge gap at the top. European stalls, meanwhile, are totally sealed off.
So, why the huge gap? Well, the official corporate line for this lack of privacy is safety. If you ask the largest bathroom partition distributors in the United States, they'll tell you these stalls are primarily designed with gaps so emergency workers can easily access the cubicle if someone inside passes out or has a medical emergency.
But is there a deeper, hidden reason? Because honestly, when you really think about it, that emergency excuse doesn't fully hold water. European-style partitions easily solve that exact same emergency problem just by using master keys or super slight door gaps. There has to be a more calculated structural reason why these highly exposed American partitions are absolutely everywhere.
And here is the twist, and this comes directly from the partition distributors themselves. The lack of privacy is a feature, not a bug. It is deliberately designed to make you uncomfortable so you don't hang around. By letting you see your neighbor's feet and exposing you to all the sounds and smells of a public space, the American stall basically screams at you to get in, do your business, and get out. And this specifically benefits employers who are desperately looking to enhance worker productivity by keeping those bathroom breaks as short as possible.
This actually tracks perfectly with broader analyses of American work culture. U.S. employees log some of the longest hours out of any industrialized nation, especially compared to Europe. So, as the source material points out, even their public bathrooms are optimized for capitalist productivity. They aren't designed to give you a pleasant, relaxing human experience. They are quite literally architected to maximize raw economic output. So as we wrap up this explainer, I think we can all agree the humble toilet is anything but boring. It's a mirror. It reflects our engineering priorities, our deep-seated philosophical leanings, and yes, even our economic systems. So the very next time you walk into a public restroom, take a quick look around and ask yourself how much of your society's work culture is secretly dictating your most private, vulnerable moments. It's definitely something to think about.